We're just days away from the biggest football game of the year. For a Super Bowl preview, it's time for the last word with Stephen Brunt, someone who's been to his fair share of Super Bowls. Now, the NFL's best offense versus the league's top defense. Stephen, will the old adage hold, defense wins championships?
Well, I kind of think so, although, you're talking about a historically great offense in terms of Denver and what Peyton Manning's done there. This is one of the greatest, arguably the greatest offense in NFL history. Seattle's a terrific defense. They have been able to shut down great offensive teams all year long, but some of that has been in the cozy confines of their home stadium where it's almost impossible for visiting teams to play. So we're on a neutral field, we're on an outdoor neutral field. There's all kinds of X factors, but in general, when you're talking about the NFL, defense trumps offense if that's the matchup.
Okay, well, talking about offense for a second, 6 of the last 7 Super Bowl MVPs have been quarterbacks. Will quarterback play be the deciding factor on Sunday?
Well, I think it's going to be a huge factor. Anytime you're talking about Peyton Manning, it's going to be a huge factor. He is one of the 3 or 4 or 5 best quarterbacks in the history of the league. At a very late stage in his career, he's had a great year. 2 years away from neck surgery, coming back from injury. He's not the guy he was when he was young. He doesn't have the same kind of arm strength, but he can get the ball downfield when he has to, and he has a great offensive brain. He's a guy who, at the line of scrimmage, is going to set the offense, and it's like having another offensive coordinator. On the other side, Russell Wilson is viewed as one of the best young quarterbacks in the game. He's played very well this year, but they are a team that is multifaceted and, again, dominated by defense. So I think that Seattle can win the Super Bowl without Russell Wilson being their best player. But if Denver's going to win, I think Peyton Manning has to be their best player.
Does either team get an edge from this Super Bowl being played outdoors?
Well, I guess the conventional wisdom would be you got to be able to run the ball if you're going to play outdoors, because you don't know what you're going to be facing in terms of conditions, and it's not necessarily going to be a fast track, and you might not be able to run your entire offensive package outdoors. Both these teams at times have been effective running the ball. Noshan Moreno for Denver has had a very good year, but really, you look at Marshawn Lynch for Seattle, a power running back who in the playoffs, 2 big touchdown runs in the playoffs that turned football games. He looks like a guy who is made for bad weather, made for cold weather, and if it's a grinded out kind of football game, I think that favors Seattle, and I think it favors their defense, and also maybe it favors their offense with Marshawn Lynch.
You talked about Peyton Manning. If Denver wins, he's got that MVP wrapped up. Do you think if Peyton Manning wins on Sunday, you'll consider him the greatest quarterback of all time?
Well, that's he's in the conversation. He's in the conversation with Joe Montana, and he's in the conversation with Tom Brady, who's got 3 Super Bowls to his credit. Championships are one thing, and it's one way we measure quarterbacks, but there have been great quarterbacks like Dan Marino who never won a Super Bowl. All time is tricky, and give me 10 years from now, and we'll talk about where these guys rate on the all-time list. But I would say right now we are watching in Peyton Manning and Tom Brady 2 of the best 5 who've ever played in the NFL. How about that?
All right, Stephen, thanks for your insight on this. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Wilder.